Wow, guess I need to turn a light on. Now that won't work. Give me a minute here. Okay, that seems to be somewhat better. I'll do this way. Okay. Have to excuse me. This is my first time doing this. So, anyway, turn down the volume on TV. Jets and Dolphins are tied. Bills are up by 11 points, which is something real quick since they were supposed to be down a few minutes ago. But anyway, where about me? Back in 2007, I was diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis. The interesting thing with that is that's not why I went to see the doctor. I was getting CAT scan for an inguinal hernia, and when they do a CAT scan of the lower abdomen, they always get the bottom third of your lungs, and they saw something weird. So the pulmonary docs, and I was told they had pulmonary fibrosis. I wanted to confirm it by surgery, so they did an open lung biopsy, took a piece, and confirmed that I had pulmonary fibrosis. That was 15 years ago. At the time, everything said I had 3 to 5 years to live. Well, like I said, 15 years, and I'm still here. Outlasted that one. And then a year ago, October or November of 21, I asked my pulmonologist again to give me a prognosis. And she said, about a year now, dude. Well, I've beaten that one by a couple of months, and I don't feel like I'm ready to go anywhere. Yes, my fibrosis has increased and made my life a little more hell than it had been, but not to the point where I'm knocking on death's door and asking Mr. What's his name with the sickle to come and look at me. I am at my second facility, finally got listed there because they had rules that I could abide by. The first one, the rules were I was not able to abide by the rules that they set because I couldn't get somebody to move out to Wisconsin with me. But here with the Cleveland Clinic, I can stay home here in Lancaster and wait for them to call me on the phone, and then I will pop down there. So I got listed December 21st. January 29th, I got my first call that they may have some lungs available for me. Drive all the way down there, and the lungs weren't any good for me to be transplanted with. So I come back home New Year's Eve. Interesting drive on New Year's Eve because every single bar I drove past was closed on New Year's Eve. It was weird. But anyway, came home here, barely unpacked, had enough time to take a nap to get over everything that happened during there. And then that was Saturday night. Tuesday afternoon, I get another phone call. Oh, we may have some lungs. We need you to be here by midnight. I wound up staying in a hospital bed in their ICU for 24 hours before they finally came around and said, these lungs aren't any good either, so go back home. That's my story about the lungs. Me, I graduated nursing school in 1975, joined the Air Force in 76, took my state boards, became an LPN in 77. So I worked as a medic when I was in the Air Force, 76 to 80. 80, I got out. I stayed in the Washington, D.C. area, worked all over the area there. Did a quick cross-country trip, came back home because one of my brothers died, stayed there, finished my associate's degree, moved to Florida, got my bachelor's degree. All of this while working full-time and all that other good stuff. Got married, had a second child. Moved up here to Buffalo. When I turned 40, life went to hell in a handbasket. On my 40th birthday, we were shopping for a Christmas tree. I got rear-ended in my truck. That's when I think I herniated the first disc. It's not sure exactly when, but I've had 2 cervical fusions in my neck in the early 2000s. And all sorts of different health issues popped up here and there after my 40th birthday. It was unreal. Anyway, so now I am, all of that leads to 2007 and beyond. So I've got Medicare Part B, and I've got a supplemental plan that will cover for most of the surgeries. You get your copays and whatnot. I can deal with that. It's the other stuff that why I have these 2 fundraising programs on tap here is the insurance will not cover me staying. Once you get the transplant at Cleveland Clinic, you need to stay in the Cleveland area for 6 to 8 weeks, 12 weeks, depending on how well you're progressing. And better light. And you have to pay for that on your own, all while maintaining your living space up here in Buffalo. So, I mean, no insurance company in the world is going to help pay for living outside the hospital or food or all of that other stuff. Plus, you get your regular bills to pay, and your home rent. And then if I'm sure I'm still going to have my freaking electric bill to pay while I'm not living here. And I'm on a fixed income. I only get Social Security. That's it. Okay. I get just enough Social Security to where I make too much to make Medicaid. So I can't count on that for any money. And because of my diagnosis, I absolutely can't even get a part-time job. Who's going to hire a guy that's got to have an oxygen tank on him all over the place? So that's why I have the GoFundMe page and the Fund the First page. Got the 2 because I've had people not complain, but say that they don't particularly like GoFundMe. They don't trust them. And if someone suggested this site, which is why I'm here, why I have the 2. So you have your pick of the 2. There's the GoFundMe page, and then their Fund the First, which I believe is a crowdfunding site that originally came out of Long Island, and they're starting to get a national footprint. So there it is. My social network footprint is very, very small. Okay. I got an email account because everybody in the world's got to have an email account. You can't get anything without putting in an email address. So I got that. I got a cell phone to start with because the job that I had required me to get a cell phone. I was anti-cell for a long time. So now I have my iPhone. These fundraising platforms that I got are not working. I don't know if people don't understand how they work or whatnot. They work best if you share the site with your friends, families, associates, whomever you contact with online. Some people have thousands of friends. Some people have millions of friends. I've noticed literally millions of friends. I broke down and did a TikTok account and a Twitter account. People literally have millions of followers. Okay. And even if you can't afford to donate to the GoFundMe page, share it. Don't just give it a like because people just see the like. Whoever sees the post will see the like, but in order for the post to get out there for more people, it has to be shared with everybody. And hopefully they will share it with their everybody's and so on down the line. Um, it's kind of like a reverse pyramid or something like that. You start with the peak, which is me, and it just keeps going down. Um, my GoFundMe page has been up for 10 months now. Okay. I've only gotten $4,000 over 10 months. I've seen other GoFundMe accounts where they're listed and in 2 days they have 50 grand already, or 100 grand, or 10 grand. Okay. In days. I've been there for 10 months. Okay. 300 days maybe. And I only have 4 grand. Okay. Meaning that, I don't want to go bankrupt with this lung surgery. Okay. Really don't want to do that. That's why I need your help. Get me your friends to see the webs, to see the GoFundMe and the Fund the First sites. Okay. They're the ones that, you can donate to them. Believe you can do it as a tax deduction. Don't take my word on that. Check it out for yourself. But I'm thinking that it might be qualifying for a tax deduction. But I do need your help. I've already had my 2 dry runs where I go to Cleveland and they say, oops, nope, these lungs aren't any good, so you got to come back home. When they identify a pair of lungs, you got to go. Okay. Because they don't know at that time. They identify the lungs because the person is the same blood type, tissue type, body size, and other factors. I got the 2 close calls because my score was high enough that I will show up on people's lists. I just pray that I've already had, today is the 8th. So in the last 10 days, 11 days, I've had to run to Cleveland twice. Okay. Which is fine because there were lungs, but those 2 trips in them myself were exhausting. Even though I'm not doing the driving, and all I'm doing is laying in the hospital bed with an IV and telemetry wires all over me, it's still an exhausting effort to be there. So, twice a month, although I really do hope the next lungs are the ones that work for me. And then I'll be down there. I will try to update folks as far as how far I'm going with this. This might be the easiest way to do it, too. So just go on YouTube and let the other 2 sites know that I'm here. I'll let you know when I get the dry runs, when I don't. My next visit to Cleveland, by the way, is going to be this week. They require, if you don't get your lungs, they require you to come back every 3 months just to see how you're doing, maybe even updating your score, increasing your score, because pulmonary fibrosis never gets better. There's no medication to treat it. The only treatment is a lung transplant. And somehow or another, I did not get mine from COVID. Okay. A lot of people seem to be getting it, or I don't know whether they're getting pulmonary fibrosis from COVID, or they get COVID and it just totally destroys their lungs. But in the last 3 years, the amount of lung transplants that have been going on have I want to say more than tripled, because there's a lot of people getting lung transplants. Cleveland Clinic is constantly evaluating people every single week. Okay. When I go this week and I speak to my pulmonary guy. I'm going to ask him just how much they've increased, because I didn't even think to ask about that. But I'm going to ask him, and then I'll come back here and I'll let you guys know when that happens. If you have any questions for me, put them here in the chat. I'm not seeing anybody here who's seeing this with me, so maybe you'll just be seeing this as something that's been online. But you can look, if you got any questions, put them in the chat. I will come back periodically and look and see if anybody's had any questions and whatnot. I will be very forthcoming and open about my answers to you, unless you decide that you want to get off the wall. Come on. I mean, there's real and there's stupid. Be real. Okay. That's all I ask. I mean, and that, and share my website. Share this, share. I'm on Facebook. Got something on TikTok. I'm on Twitter. I will share my GoFundMe stuff, and I share my GoFundMe stuff on Facebook, and the Fund the First is on TikTok. But links to those sites are over here. If you can contribute, I mean, I will just donate $5, $10. It doesn't matter. I mean, if you happen to have that $1.6 million, make 1.6 million followers, ask everybody just to send $1. Okay, that will take care of. I mean, I've only set my goal at 20 grand. Okay, if I get 10 on each of them, I will talk to my organizers on these sites and ask them if they want to increase the goal or they just want to stop the GoFundMe and whatnot. It's up to the folks that are organizing this for me. About closing it down or maybe just increasing it, depending on how much money I need to survive Cleveland. Okay. I'm only asking for monies for the transplant, my transplant buddies to stay down there with me because they got to be down there with me also. For the transplant part. Okay. I do have to go after the transplant is done and I'm discharged from the Cleveland Clinic fully and I come back home here to Lancaster, New York. Then I still have to go back to Cleveland on periodic basis to get bronchoscopies done just to check for rejections. Okay. Granted, most cases of rejection show up in the first 2 or 3 months, which is why I have to stay down there and live. But rejection can happen at any time. It could be 5 years down the road after I get the transplant that the body decides, oh, these aren't your lungs. I don't want them. Okay. But I still have to go periodically. They'll do the bronchoscopy, see if there's any rejections, how well the healing's going, and how my general health is going. Okay, so this all started because I was going to say I have to go down to Cleveland this week, leaving Tuesday evening because I got appointments Wednesday and Thursday. At which time they can increase my allocation score. That depends. If it goes up, that means I'm higher up. I'm higher up on the list to get some. My last allocation score was either 36.8 or 38.6. I'm not sure which one it was. But when they will do the pulmonary function test, 6-minute walk. Oh, I hate the 6-minute walk. Because just walking 2 minutes to the garbage dump and back is exhausting. I mean, unless you know somebody who's had pulmonary fibrosis, you just can't understand how badly short of breath one gets and how little it takes to get out of breath. Sucks. But this visit can increase my allocation score, which means instead of getting calls every 3 days, I'll get calls every 2 days again. Just a joke. Calm down. I hope it's not every 2 days, or I hope I'm not rejecting that I'm keep getting bad lungs. Driving down there to be told that, sorry, these lungs ain't appropriate, because the surgeons will decide what's good and what's not good. Okay, and they don't want to retransplant lungs into anybody. Okay, so they will decide what's good, but they won't know until they go through the test. But once they identify the lungs, they're still in the donor's body. So theoretically, while I'm driving down there, transplant team is out to wherever these lungs are to harvest the lungs. All of that is while I'm driving down there, and then they evaluate the lungs. I mean, by the time the lungs get flown back into Cleveland, if they come here from out of town, and then I get down there, it's about the same time. So sometimes the lungs just are looking good from right off the bat and say, okay, they're good. Or in my case, both cases, they had to put them on a machine. This is way too long. Okay, I will update this. But they put them on EVLP machine, which basically helps dry out the lungs and expands the lungs just to see how good they are. But it's a 3-hour test, so that's an extra 3 hours of sitting around waiting for the test to get done. But after that test, they decided that no, these lungs still aren't good enough for them to transplant in. And I don't even get to see the lungs. I don't know where the lungs are coming from or who they're coming from, other than the fact that the last pair of lungs, the patient in the far past was an IV drug user, so there was potential for other things, but they haven't popped up in that patient. So, but I would be followed up for that. But anyhow, back to the GoFundMe pages and the Fund the First. If you cannot contribute money, share the posts with your friends, family, and ask them to share it. The more people that see it, the better chances of me somehow or another getting some donations to these sites, simply because it'll give me one less thing I have to worry about while I'm recuperating. That is my big ask of all of this. Thank you very much. Hope you're going to have a happy new year, and pray for me and wish me luck in getting my lungs. I thank you very much. Have a nice day.